2025 has been an interesting year for the VTuber industry, with an increasing number of corporate graduations, scandals, and the end to what was considered by many to be one of the good ones. Why would anyone want to audition for a VTuber corporation, let alone start one? Hi, my name is Chizu, and I'm about to tell you how I became the owner of a VTuber corporation. Ever since I was a kid, I loved creation and performance. I put on puppet shows for my classmates when I was in 3rd grade. I made stop-motion movies with dolls and action figures, and I loved putting smiles on people's faces. I have what I like to call a vertical relationship with entertainment. Some people have one with religion or philosophy, but for me, the process of creating is kind of devotional. I truly believe that that is my purpose, and I've spent most of my life trying to become better at it. Many years would pass by before I would eventually become a VTuber. While I recognize the accomplishments I've made since my debut, there was always something bigger that I felt was missing. A part I wanted to play that has always felt out of reach. I think the best way to describe what I mean is to tell you about the VTuber that inspires me the most. ᴠɪᴅᴇᴏ. ᴠɪᴅᴇᴏ debuted in June of 2024 as a member of Hololive English's 4th generation Justice. I had just had my first con experience at ᴡᴅᴇᴏ and was starting a pretty rough year of disappointments. We'll get into that later. I didn't pay much attention to her until 2025, but it didn't take long to notice. There was something special going on with her. ᴠɪᴅ's 3D debut premiered in August of 2025. It is an onslaught of insane comedy segments, musical performance, and storytelling that comes together to be one of the most impressive collaborative works I've ever seen. How does something like this get approved and created by a company like Hololive?
This is what I want to do. So that's why we need to do it. So we went to those meetings, and I had this really detailed document, and I'm like, yeah, I want all of this, and it would be like this, and this is gonna happen. And you can just tell, they're like, what the hell is she talking about? The director-san that I got was very kind and very sweet, and just immediately knew what I wanted, and was so on board with my ideas. It was a very, like, trust the process kind of thing.
Even outside of her own works, ᴠɪᴅ's influence on other members of Hololive cannot go understated. Her presence in their lives has clearly had a deep positive impact, and that has colored their enthusiasm towards their own work.
ᴠɪᴅ is just funny to hang out with, man. She's so funny. Oh, ᴠɪᴅ, I miss her. I can hear her now.
I think the thing is that ᴠɪᴅ is just one of those personalities that she makes you feel so safe and accepted. She's so freaky that she really makes you feel like you can fully 100% be yourself.
I really like the vibe that I feel. She feels like family and a cool popular friend that I want to be a friend of.
The exact same. What you see on stream is who she is. What you see is what you get.
So iconic. Anything that she does.
You don't have to be anxious around ᴠɪᴅ, because you know you can say pretty much anything and ᴠɪᴅ is going to like be having fun with you, you know?
I want to have that kind of impact on others. For years, I wanted to play a part of something bigger than myself. Obviously, that means I need to be successfully signed on to a VTuber agency, right? There are a lot of misconceptions surrounding VTuber agencies that are perpetuated by independent VTubers and fans in the community who aren't well acquainted with adjacent industries. Sponsorships and big events are only made possible by agencies. While professional support makes things easier to coordinate, it is definitely not a requirement. I've secured some pretty awesome sponsorships myself without the help of an agency. And I do have an assistant who handles sponsorship outreach for me now. But it's not something you have to have if you know how to communicate professionally with potential sponsors and you know what you're worth. Agency VTubers and large indies won't collaborate with me if I'm independent. This may have been true in the earlier years of VTubing, but this is no longer the case. I've done collaborations with agency VTubers and larger indies myself as an independent VTuber. I've also collaborated with voice actors, music producers, and more. Some artists and musicians won't work with those considered outside of the industry, so there's still some gatekeeping that exists for those that can't secure a spot at an agency, but it's happening less and less over time. An agency will manage everything for you. You just have to go live. That is not usually the case. You'll still be expected to do a lot of work outside of going live. You'll have meetings to attend, deliverables to produce, content to plan, schedules to maintain. While some agencies are more hands-on, most are expecting you to come up with what you want to do, and they'll just help you connect the dots. If you're independent, then you have to do everything yourself. This one's a bit tricky. In my first year of VTubing, I uploaded more than 450 shorts to TikTok. While this built a nice core audience to start with, this is insane! I do not recommend doing this unless you're already good at editing and can produce shorts very quickly. Unless you're profitable, which most VTubers are not, or you have another source of income, you'll be doing everything on your own. At some point, you might feel pressured to get a VTuber manager. Do not do this. Please consider getting a short-form video editor first. There are tons of high-profile independent VTubers with support teams of editors, managers, artists, and more, who are willing to prioritize them because of their social status in the industry. Even if you've got the $10,000 to commission your Oshi's Live 2D model artist, it doesn't mean they're going to work with you or even talk to you. You simply won't have that level of support if you're not already well known. So, what's the typical experience for an independent VTuber that would drive them to audition for an agency? It probably goes something like this. So you started VTubing, and you find out you really enjoy it. You use your persona to create content that other people enjoy, and you start building a fan base. Things are going well, probably up into the 30 average live viewer range, and then it happens. Your first plateau. A lot of people just ride it out calmly. But not you. You start to get anxious. You must be missing something. You start asking your peers. People with smaller audiences tell you to be grateful for what you have. VTubers your size are too busy going through the same thing you are. And larger creators, they might be dismissive or just parrot the same advice you're hearing all over social media. Or even worse, they might suggest you watch Skillshare videos. You consider hiring a VTuber manager. Maybe you even do it. They review your analytics, maybe suggest playing what is trending, or maybe they suggest producing ASMR content because that's what's working for one of their friends. But nothing changes. You audition for several agencies. Maybe you get an interview, but you never hear back. And nothing changes. Nothing ever changes. Until eventually, you crash out. My backstory is a pretty dark one. It's not something I really like to go into detail about, but if you'd like a brief history of my last year or so, you can check out this video where I talk about my experiences. Put a link to it in the description. As a VTuber, I've made a lot of attempts at maintaining a professional reputation. I want to be taken seriously in the industry. While a lot of people know who I am, I sometimes feel easily dismissed. I've auditioned for agencies 10 times, starting in 2023, and countless projects. I only moved into the interview stage once before I eventually got into the scam of an agency that was Avalon. Been in groups before, but the lack of professionalism, dedication, and unity always causes things to fall apart. The inspiration for me to take things into my own hands, however, was generated from 3 specific events. I was onboarded into an agency in 2024 that was supposed to launch in October of that year, but it imploded a week before Offkai. The so-called CEO of this agency never filed for the LLC, never paid anyone for the work done on the project, and after saying it didn't reach the $20,000 requirement to launch, vanished after announcing that it was not launching. The most popular talent involved wanted it to stay a secret. They were already making moves to get into a much bigger agency at the time and didn't want official ties with the rest of us. Early in 2025, I auditioned for a project being run by a large indie VTuber. About a week before the announcement, the VTuber DM'd me while drunk to let me know I was the #1 choice and was likely to get it. I didn't hear anything else until the announcement that someone else had gotten in. And that more than one person was selected on top of the original one announced, which was also not me. This really got me f***ed up. But I probably dodged a bullet because only a few months into the project, the indie VTuber left the 2 selected talents on their own to join an agency themselves. And of course, most recently, I was onboarded onto another fake agency. Except this one actually launched. Avalon was run by a non-English speaking guy with unexplained access to money, LARPing as a CEO, creating groups and managing clients on the side and trying to get something to pop off to sneak his wife into a Gen 2. During the aftermath, I learned this was not the guy's first attempt and that he had taken advantage of several talents in previous failed agencies. Of course, all the while, the guy was complaining about how difficult it was to form an LLC and become legitimate. Over the past year or so, I had considered creating something for myself. I kept my plans close to my chest, but of the few people I confided in, it was always suggested to just form a group. After my past experiences, though, I decided a group was not enough. I made the decision to make what I wanted and to see how it would work out. For myself. So, how hard is starting a business really? Honestly, it was really simple. I went through a registered agent service to form a single-member LLC and to file for an EIN tax number. This allowed me to maintain some privacy and made the process much easier. All that was required from me was the filing fee and a relatively inexpensive fee to the registered agent. That was it. In about a week and a half, my business was legal and my tax number was issued. I'm now the president of Vizatsu. It was no hassle at all. While there are other costs and responsibilities involved with running a legitimate LLC like this, I consider it trivial to the $20,000 requirement and other mythical obstacles my previous fake CEOs claim to have stopped them from forming one. Before you get any ideas, though, consider reasons why you might not want to do something like this. Content creation in general, but especially the VTuber industry, is highly unstable. According to the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, almost half of all businesses fail in the first 5 years. A lot of VTubers don't even make it 2 years before graduation. If you're uncomfortable taking charge and would rather follow someone else's lead, that is also perfectly fine. Wanting to join an agency is still a valid choice, and VTuber agencies wouldn't have a reason to exist without VTubers ready to join them, right? Another reason people might not be interested in starting a business is the issue of accounting. If you're already investing enough money into VTubing that you're paying more than $600 to a single person or company for an asset such as a live 2D model, though, you already have to be doing this. You're required by law to give a 1099 to any US citizen you pay more than $600 to in a single year, whether you own a business or not. Y'all American VTubers better get on that. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't. And also follow me on Twitch where I play games and talk to you guys a few days every week. Being the president of a VTuber company is kind of unreal, but for those anxious about how things are going to change, I just want to say I'll still be streaming and hanging out in the community Discord server. I'll also be focusing on making more YouTube videos like this about horror, anime, and other stuff I love talking about. Be on the lookout for more news on Season 3, the debut of my new model, a VTuber concert being produced by my company, and maybe even a possible expansion of operations next year. Thank you all for watching, and as always, take care of yourselves and each other. Mwah!